So this video is about caption writing. So I'm going to go over the basics of how to write a caption. Every photo you are submitting for contest needs to have a caption, from portrait to theme to photo story. Every entry must have a caption. And captions are extremely important. And I know I'm not there to edit your guys' captions right now, but if you write one, I'm sure if you ask one of the newspaper editors to look it over for you, or maybe even an English teacher, they could still look at proper nouns, the capitalization, and things like that. You also have to adhere to AP style, and we'll go over some of those things because your caption, a well-written caption, could be the difference between first and second place, or you even placing in general. They definitely take captions into account when judging for contests. So, a couple of basics. Um, these are kind of the ABCs of caption writing. I borrowed this from a handout online, and I try to simplify it for you guys. We don't go over a lot of caption writing. We should do it more because it is incredibly important. The first thing is, the whole purpose of the caption is to answer the 5 W's and the H. And if you don't know what those are, it's who, what, when, where, why, and how. The whole point is to tell everybody what's going on. So a good caption should, for the most part, answer all of those things. The first sentence is always written in present tense, which means that it's happening. It is currently going on. The second sentence is always written in past tense, which means it's already taken place. So everything should end with ed because it has already happened. It's also, in addition to being past tense, it's going to give background information on what is going on either in or outside of the photo. And the point of it should be giving interesting information, telling somebody what's going on. This is a good place to put whether or not somebody won a game, or what the score was, or maybe a record, or maybe how many touchdowns somebody's had, depending on the nature of your photograph. And then the third sentence should be a quote, and so I highly recommend that all of you get quotes for as many captions as you can. That is a nice touch. It's something that the judges always really like. And when you get a quote, you should not end on person said. And I'll show you what that means in just a second. A couple other tips is that you do always need to identify everybody by first and last name and what grade they are. And so you need to pick a style. So whether you want to call somebody senior Mila Turner, or I mean, that's the way that we go. So I recommend that you do that. You should put the grade before the name. Also, freshman, sophomore, junior, senior. You do not capitalize that because it is not a proper noun. And please make sure you know the difference between freshmen versus freshman. And see, look, I capitalized that. And it should not be capitalized because it is not a proper noun unless it's starting a sentence. So, if you have more than freshmen, just like if you have men, it's plural. If you only have one individual freshman, it should be a man, okay? I have seniors in high school that can't do this, so you need to learn this. Freshman is plural, freshman is singular, okay? Also, sophomore has an O in the middle, right there. It's not sophomore, it's sophomore, okay? So remember that when you're typing out grades. You should identify everybody unless your group is 5 or more. Then you can identify them as an entity. But if there are more than 5 individuals, you should less than 5 individuals, excuse me, you should identify them by name. No, do not state the obvious. Don't insult your reader. And then you are not, as a journalist, you should never ask questions. Your job is to answer questions, and we don't ever use the word pictured because that's pretty self-explanatory. Here's an example of somebody's photo that I borrowed from this other handout. And so they start with identifying, and they say Coach Todd Rogers celebrates the state semifinal victory against Graham that takes the Eagles to the state championship game against Fairfield, who are 15-0, at Dallas Cowboy Stadium on Friday, December 20th. So it would have been really nice to have a quote. You don't need to put photo by because it's going to be in your file info. I'd like to point out the way that they shortened December by DEC period, because that is AP style. Another thing about AP style is that numbers 0 through 9 are written out, and then 10 or 10 or higher, you use the numeral. Okay, that's just an example of AP style. Okay, so kind of go over this a little bit again. First sentence is present tense, the second sentence is past tense, and then the third sentence should be a quote. Okay, and as I told you, we're not going to end on person said. Person said. So what we're going to do is, I have a photo. Once again, I have a photo of, I'm sure this will shock you, but it's Maddie Emerson's photo. I have it right here. We're going to write a caption for this photo. You all have seen it. This was from the first, I believe it's the first round of the state playoff or state game. It was in Topeka, and they are celebrating a point. So you have Lauren Hurt, you have Callie Hudson, you have Abby Casper, you have Taylor Muff, you have Caitlin Burdick, and you have Caitlin Kidd. So the first thing is we're going to write a present tense sentence. If I can resize this so we can kind of see a little bit what's going on. I'm going to make this a little smaller so you can see it. So I want to do the who, the what, the when, the where, the why, and the how. So on, or maybe we do during. So during the first match against whatever the team was, we don't want to say varsity girls volleyball, because if it's state, it's obviously varsity. If it's volleyball, it's obviously girls. So you want to say the team celebrates a point, celebrates maybe a service point by senior Caitlin, and it's good to know people's names, Burdick. I don't know for a fact that this was a service point. Maybe she dug the ball up and they got a kill. I don't remember. But you guys should remember what's going on in your photo. So during the first match against whatever the team was, the team celebrates a service point by senior Caitlin Burdick. You could say this was the team's first trip to the state tournament in X amount, was it 13 years, I believe, in 13 years. And I would go on to say, but the Dragons lost the match and went, I believe they went 0-2 in the tournament. And then I would insert a quote. And so you could say, even though, and you need to actually interview your person, but I want to show you a style thing. Even though we didn't play the way we wanted to, it was still a great experience. And then we'll do comma, quotation mark, and we're going to do senior Taylor Muff said. Now, what I'm going to do now, and I'm actually going to make this bigger so you can see it. Senior Taylor Muff said, period. We're going to have what's called an interrupting quote. We don't ever want to end on person said. You don't want it said to be the last thing your reader reads. So we had an amazing season, and I'll never forget it. Period, quotation mark. And that's how you end. Okay? So your first sentence is present tense. It's explaining what's going on. So during the first match against the team, whoever, the team celebrates a service point. So celebrates and during is what's present tense here. And then this was is past tense. So second sentence is always past tense. This was the team's first trip to the state tournament in X amount of years. but the dragons lost is past tense, and went is past tense. And then quote, even though we didn't play the way we wanted to, comma, it was still a great experience, comma, quotation mark, Senior Taylor Muff said, period, quotation mark, capitalize, we had an amazing season, I'll never forget it, period, quotation mark, okay? It's very important that you end that way. This is what you are going to take and put in your metadata. So I copied this. I'm going to go back to Photoshop. I'm going to go to File, and I'm going to go to File Info, and I'm going to put this, oops, I'm not going to save that. I accidentally copied. I'm going to copy this. I'm going to go to Photoshop. I'm going to delete this out. I'm going to paste. So there's my caption. I'm going to click OK, and I'm going to save it. I'm going to go back to here. I'm going to delete the old. And now I'm going to click Choose File. And I'm going to do the mock crash because that's what I saved it as. I'm going to click OK. I'm going to click Submit. And then when you have correctly submitted, which takes a couple seconds, it'll look like this. So there's my photo credit for my file info, and then here is my caption. And so then if this looks correct, and the only way it uploads is if everything is correct. So this has been successfully uploaded. So you need to upload your 2 or 3 or 4 more photos. So you're going to click Choose File and go through it again. Okay. So that is my advice on how to write a caption.